Welcome to Inside Your Finance podcast, where we explore people's relationships with money by chatting with everyday professionals like you and me. We learn about their money stories, from their money mistakes to their money wins. And then we just get some tips and tricks that they've learned along the way. On today's episode, we have Dr. Charles Osuji. Dr. Charles Osuji has been honored with over 100 awards, 119 to be precise, including the Queen Elizabeth II Platinum Jubilee Medal. He was also named as top 25 influential lawyers in Canada. Charles, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Jen.
Thanks for being here. I know that everyone knows that you're an amazing lawyer. You're a beast in the courthouse. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself outside of, what you do for work as a career? What makes Charles tick?
What makes me think? By the way, thank you for the platform, for the opportunity to talk about money, especially in this time and age.
Yeah. It's important.
Born and raised in Nigeria, came here 2011 from a large family of 10. I was fortunate to be born into an adult family. So by the time I was born, my immediate older sister was many years ahead of me. So I picked up a lot of habits from my older siblings. In fact, I didn't even live with my parents. I lived with one of my older brothers growing up. After university, came to Canada, and then started my journey as a professional. Mm-hmm. What makes me tick? I love family. I love the idea of, growing up in a comfortable household. I love sports. I play a lot of soccer.
Oh, do you watch soccer?
I also watch soccer.
Do you have a favorite soccer team?
I'm not going to say that
here. Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Does it start with an A? But okay.
I didn't guess. I love people. I could be an introvert, I could be an extrovert, but at the same time, mm-hmm. I love to take risks. I love adventure. I love to help people. I see myself as a product of the community.
Right.
The village really raised me.
Okay.
Going from how I was raised by my older brothers and then came here, met a lot of mentors. I love to give back to the community. So those are the things and I love God too. I'm a man of faith. So Those are the things that make me tick.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think family is everything. And I like that because I know you also do the Foot in the Door initiative.
Yes.
You're very community-based, oriented, which is amazing. So one thing I really want to explore is what is, I call it the nature-nurture dichotomy as it pertains to money. How much of how we relate to money is based on who we are naturally versus how we were raised.
Right.
So I guess my first question is, how was money talked about when you were growing up as a kid? I know you mentioned that you grew up with your siblings, but, was there ever a time where money was an issue, or what was the money conversation like?
Well, it was really tough growing up. My dad was a teacher, a secondary school teacher, raising 8 children. At some point, he had to send my mom to school for 10 years to take nursing. So it was really, really tough with him being the sole income earner with my mom's support. So from my dad's perspective, money was never there. But then my mom, she didn't have much, but she was very liberal with money. So there was that tension between my dad that never had money and my mom that would leave money laying around. The table, the kitchen stool. And I picked up some habits from both of them. Mm-hmm. A little bit of conservatism from my father, and at the same time, a bit more being liberal with money. I picked up from my mom.
Right.
I've always told my mom that the difference between both of us is I have cash flow, she doesn't. My mom always bragged that there's no money in her bank account because once money gets into her account, it's gone. But my dad could account for it, dollar that he earned 10 years, 15 years prior. So I grew up in that, with that balance, and that has really served me well so far.
That's so interesting, because I think the other two people I've had have said the exact same thing. It's that dynamic between the dad is the planner, is the one who has, more control over the spending, and then and it's just kind of like, let's just spend. Let's just, see how it goes. So I guess then coming back to how that shaped you and how you view money, I guess what you're saying is that there's more of a balance. So you do plan. Would you consider yourself a spender or a saver, or is it kind of
both? I've been fortunate to be able to strike the balance between those two extremes. Going back to how we were raised and how money was tough to get and scarce, I've always had at the back of my mind that I cannot eat my seed. I have to always have a backup plan for the, when there's rainy day, save money for when there isn't as much rainy day. So I've always had the desire or the push to ensure that I have enough for emergencies. At the same time, I'm not very reluctant in spending, right? I'm not very reluctant in spending, and I picked up from my mom. And what that has done to me is the idea of the more you spend, the more you make. It's something I picked up from her. My mom has never lacked money. She has never had money, and she's never lacked money.
So the money just appears.
So she's very liberal, like I said earlier. In my journey as an entrepreneur, I've learned not to hoard resources. I've learned to believe that the more I put out there, the more it comes back. So there's always been generosity at the core of our value system. I remember when I took over the firm, I gave everybody a raise, and I didn't pay myself a dime for a year. Just to make sure that people felt that they were working in a generous environment. And the return from that was just enormous. The return from that has been enormous. I also mentioned I'm a risk taker when it comes to money. I'm not on the extreme side of things where I keep and hoard. I would spend on a big project, not knowing what the outcome would be, and just hope for the best.
Right.
And that has played out positively.
That's interesting. So I guess if we go back to, you just mentioned your firm, not a lot of people have the mind to buy a whole firm, right? So can you walk us through that? Like, first of all, how did you go from, because I know you were articling at that firm. If we're tying it back to how your upbringing shaped your mindset, how would you say there was that connection between that and having the, I want to say, audacity to actually take that risk and say, hey, I actually have what it takes to buy the firm? Actually, first of all, before we go there, walk us through the process of buying a firm. For someone who's out there who's thinking they might want to do the same, like, what was that process like from a financial perspective?
Absolutely. There are two ways you can do it. You can buy an existing law firm, or you can start a new firm. So what I did was to buy an existing law firm. I had to look for money because I didn't have 100% of the cash for it. But that happened after, dragging my feet about the decision, probably because of where I was at the time, young, relatively new to the country, not as experienced as a lawyer, and not having any prior business experience or law firm management experience. Anyhow, eventually spoke to a few mentors who motivated me to go for it. Deep down, I've always been a big dreamer. And I've always liked good things. I've always liked to reach for the skies right from when I was little.
Right.
I remember when I was living with one of my brothers, a friend would visit. This was primary school days. No, secondary school days. A friend would visit. Instead of getting a friend a bottle of water and maybe peanuts, I'd get them Martina and...
Wow.
It's always been...
But where did the money come from?
Well,
we just always had money. Was money just always there? Or because that's actually an interesting theory. I have heard that before, that in order to get money, you have to spend.
Yes.
To release it.
Yes.
But I always wonder, because I'm on the extreme. I'm a saver.
Yes.
Yes. But I always wonder, okay, if you're spending it, where is it? Where's the other? Because if you say you have to spend money to make money, where is the money going to come from?
Well, like I said earlier, there's always been that balance. Even if I'm spending as much as I do that in a calculated manner. The last few years I've invested in growing and building wealth. Not necessarily spending on luxuries, but spending on properties, my office locations, I own them. The business that we just talked about. So the big spending isn't necessarily on just liabilities, but things that are generating.
So assets
and cash flow. Again, back to what I was saying earlier, I've always believed in just putting things out there and then watch what happens. From the purchase of the firm, I realized that I needed to invest in my space. When I bought the firm, it was a mortgage property that was owned by the previous owner. Instead of simply buying the firm, I bought the property alongside.
Great.
And then a few years later, we grew out of capacity and we had to move into a bigger space, the one that you know. What I've learned over the years is you spend the first few years of your career building wealth. And once you plateau and hit a certain level, then you can now splurge on luxuries and stuff like that because you now have a steady cash flow.
So walk us through that, first of all. So how did you get the money to buy the mortgage, the building, and, buy the firm?
Good question. I worked with Mrs. Smith, my previous principal, for about 2.5 years. In those 2.5 years, I was hustling. 15-hour days, 7 days a week. I quickly became the person that brought in most of the clients to the firm. So I did very well as a young employer myself. So when the conversation of buying him out started, it was an easy conversation because I was already, responsible for most of the files that were coming in. But I didn't have all of the funds for the purchase. I still had to borrow some money. And that was a challenge for me as a young Black person. It was difficult to get capital. I remember applying to so many of the major banks and, they were focusing on no history, no credit history, no prior business ownership. But a particular bank, BMO, took a risk and gave me capital for some of the purchase. And again, it's a law firm. If you have your value systems in place, you have good systems and good structure, you're going to succeed in that.
Okay. Yeah. So capital from the bank plus your savings. That's actually amazing.
Yes.
So for anyone who's listening, they're trying to do the same. You can't not work hard. You have to.
Yes.
I guess that also gave the bank a little bit of comfort to keep.
Yes, absolutely.
Also had a good chunk.
Yes. They could see my history from my 2.5 years of practice at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now looking back at, taking that risk, because that was a big financial risk.
Yes, it was.
Although I know it's a law firm, and one would argue that a law firm is revenue generating. The risk is slightly lower, but of course there's still a risk that
it's an expensive business.
Exactly. What if it fails, right? Yeah. So looking back now, would you do it again?
Absolutely. I'll do it again. One of the best decisions I made was taking that risk. And it was a calculated risk. It wasn't a risk that I took without looking. I made sure that I learned the business before I took it on. By the time I made the offer to Mrs. Smith and the time I took over was about a year. So I gave myself a year to learn the business, to be prepared, to understand the risks, to know and learn compliance, client management, marketing, branding. I was everything. When I was branded a firm, I renovated the building. I was responsible for client acquisition, all of it. All of that happened in 1 year of crash learning from Mr. Smith, learning from a bunch of other business owners, listening to tons of podcasts, reading books, and gathering as much information as possible. But most importantly, I had capacity to take that jump. I had moments where I doubted myself, but I had people around me that kept reminding me that, Josh, you can do it. What's the worst that happened? We'll be there to support.
Yeah, that's amazing. So now that you're running your firm, from a financial perspective, what are some of the key principles that guide how you manage funds? I want you to explore from your law firm perspective, but also from your own personal finance perspective. Like, what are some of your key financial principles?
Number one, don't eat a seed.
What does that mean?
What it means is, I give an example of how I started. For a year, I didn't pay myself. I had some savings, but I also wanted to learn the discipline of eating last as a leader and making sure that my staff were taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, make sure that I'm not spending more than 10% of my revenue.
You're not spending
more than 10%.
Wow. So you're keeping 90% of your revenue.
I'm keeping 90% of my revenue, not necessarily in my pocket. I'm also reinvesting a bunch of it. I'm talking about expenses that are not necessarily bringing in returns.
I see.
Not more than 10%.
Right.
So there's a lot of deferral of luxury, deferral of gratification. I also believe in reinvesting into the business as much as possible. The first few years, I reinvested. Like the 2 properties that I own for the firm, these were all reinvestments into the business. On the personal side, delayed gratification is very important. The mistake many people make is they start seeing some cash flow, then they assume that that's how it's going to be forever, and then they start hitting the streets.
Yeah. And sometimes it actually creeps up on you.
Of course it does.
I've experienced that where, when I was straight out of uni, I didn't have any expenses. I didn't have student loan debt. I was making money that I've never seen before in my life.
Right.
Somehow I racked up credit card debt from nowhere. And that's because you're just swiping without realizing, just because you think now you're at a new level so you can spend, right? But
Right. Yeah, the focus should be on, if you're doing well, apply what you have into building wealth. Keep building wealth. Keep investing. Keep investing on asset earning or income earning assets. When you get to a certain level, then you can afford certain luxury. But you continue to do the same to get to a point where you become financially independent.
So what are some of the key things that you're doing right now to build wealth?
I'm investing a lot on properties.
Okay.
I'm investing on personnel. I'm also investing on systems. We've gone from 5 people to over 40, multiple locations across the country. We've also invested in different practice areas. Then in terms of properties, we do have a lot of rentals on our spaces. Then in terms of systems, we keep investing on systems in a way that instead of spending 10 hours on a particular task, you can spend 2 hours. And everybody's happy. Client is happy. Opposing side is happy. Client is happy. The bottom line is looking good. Accountant is happy. So that is where I'm spending.
And on a personal side of things, what are you doing personally to be doing?
On the personal side of things, it's very difficult to divorce the business from my person, given that I own the firm. But I don't have a lot of personal funds, to be honest. I'm putting everything back into the business as much as I can. Yeah.
Interesting. So can you walk us through some of your personal money management systems? So, budgeting, investing. First of all, do you actually manage your own money yourself? Do you invest yourself? Do you do your own
I have about 3 financial advisors that support my investments.
Okay.
Yeah, so I run any major investments by them. I also have accountants that support all of my financial decisions that I make.
Okay.
Yeah, at some point, you really can't
do it yourself.
Rely on your instinct. Right. You need to rely on people who went to school for this, who have the experience and the expertise to support.
Okay, so I guess your money system then is that you outsource it to the
experts. Absolutely. Okay. Yes.
I guess that's the key thing too. I mean, if you understand your strengths, like it's okay to, instead of doing it yourself and getting all the losses and then, regretting it.
Yes.
So I guess one other question is, I from what you've said, it seems like things have gone pretty well for you financially. You've been planning, you've done, but have you ever made a money mistake that has kind of caused or created a lasting lesson that you would always remember for the rest of your life?
Not recently, but maybe back in the day. The very first time I started seeing money.
What did you do?
Like, when I came to this country and I saw how much they paid me every 2 weeks, I was like, wow. Then I remember going to the mall. I think I bought like 7 pairs of sneakers, different colors, blue, gray, yellow, white.
How much did they all cost?
I don't remember. I know that I didn't have any money left. Afterwards,
so you spent your whole paycheck.
The entire thing. I was feeling very rich. Then by the time my vacation was over and I was going to go back home, I didn't have money for my flight ticket.
Wait, it was on vacation?
I was on vacation.
So you weren't actually working?
I was working.
Were you working here?
Yeah.
Also, then you traveled?
Yeah, I was still in law school back home. So I came here and I was even planning to stay back, to be honest.
Oh, so you were in law school?
Yes.
Came here with some cash?
No, I came here and I worked.
You worked here?
Yes, and then I made some money.
You made some
But I was spending everything I was
making. You were supposed to go back to Nigeria.
Yeah.
So you spent all the money?
I spent everything, including my flight ticket.
Wow.
Including my flight ticket. Then by the time I was going to fly, I was asking one of my brothers for money. I was like,
what?
You were working? And my brother actually had a joint account with me, so he could see the financial issue.
Wow.
So he drew my attention to my history. I had to take up 2 months of hustle.
Wow.
To make up for that. And I remember going home.
Like that.
Yeah.
So he didn't just give it to you, like you had to work for it.
I went home. I didn't have any money to give anybody at home. And my mom was like, were you deported? That question has haunted me for a very long time.
Yeah.
Then I remember coming back after a few months for another vacation.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness. I hustled. I think I was doing 18-hour days for 6 days.
Right.
I didn't even spend money to cut my hair. I had someone cut my hair for me. I believe I saved up to $6,000. That was a pivotal moment for me in terms of financial management. Mm-hmm. I quickly realized that I would face the consequences of my financial choices.
Right.
Nobody else would.
Yeah.
I would face those choices, and I needed to choose very wisely.
Yeah.
And my mentality towards money changed just from that experience. I realized I needed to have backup. I shouldn't be eating my seeds, and I should always know that I'm responsible for myself.
Mm-hmm. I like that. So you learned the power of, I always say like budgeting is not restriction. It's allowing you to be able to spend on things that matter, but also keeping some for the rainy days, the emergency funds, just in case, right? So next time, you can still buy your shoes, but maybe instead of 6, buy
I had to save. I had to get the flight ticket money out of the way.
Right, exactly.
Pocket money out of the way, and then whatever that was left, I could splurge. Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so that's your biggest money mistake. Is there anything that you would give at this point to a young lawyer like yourself, maybe back in their mid-20s, right? That was still trying to figure themselves out. From a financial perspective, what kind of things should they start looking out for at this point in their life?
Well, talk to professionals. The moment you start making money, talk to a professional. I could have saved a lot of money if I had incorporated earlier. When I started my journey as a lawyer, I remember my first tax bill. It was ridiculous. Yeah. I could have saved a lot of money if I had just put every money I was making through a corporation, as an example. And also, as a young lawyer, if an opportunity comes around, an opportunity that challenges your comfort zone, don't dismiss it right away. Talk to people who have walked that path and see what they have to say. I remember saying no to the opportunity to buy from a few times. I've shared this story. 1,001 times. I remember saying no so many times. I was so lucky that I had people around me that could see the future, and they held me down and said, look, go for it.
I just read an article as I was coming in that 41% of Canadians have reported that they're feeling the pinch of, high interest rates and inflation. And there was a recent report apparently by MNP that shows that Albertans actually have reported the highest number of financial stress. So people are really stressed with money. So my question for you is, are you feeling that same stress?
Of course, everybody is.
Okay.
To an extent.
Yeah.
A normal grocery run, I've looked at the receipts a few times and I'm shaking my head. What's going on here? Just going for a grocery run for fruits, you're looking at $500, $600.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
A lot is happening, and I hope things cool off. Even from a lawyer perspective, I've seen clients who never had issues with their bill, never had issues with instructing us to take certain steps, pull back on taking some steps that would be beneficial to them, but just because they cannot afford it.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Are there any things that you're doing specifically to help manage that stress? Share.
Oh, absolutely. We have a lot of things that we do. For instance, instead of me doing the work for the client, I could have a junior lawyer do the work at a very low rate while I oversee the work.
Okay.
On the side, we also do contingency on certain files. We only get paid if we get money for the client.
Okay.
And we've taken up a few pro bono work for people that can afford it.
And then on a personal level, like at home, for you?
Just be more intentional, right? Just be more intentional about expenditure. Not be wasteful.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So final question. Would you consider yourself wealthy?
It depends on what you mean by wealthy.
I guess that's the second question for you then. How would you define being wealthy?
Wealth is being able to afford some of my basic needs, take care of my family, support those that I can support without having to break the bank. To that extent, yes, I consider myself wealthy.
Nice. I love that. I actually like that definition of wealthy. Yeah. So it's not necessarily a dollar amount. It's not a destination. It's really just
be able to help those that are looking up to me without having to break the bank.
Okay. So we're going to go into, we're just going to play a quick game. I'm going to ask you a few questions like, save or splurge, right? Save means, are you going to save on it? Or are you going to splurge, right?
Yep.
So the first one is tailored suits.
Splurge.
You're going to splurge? Okay. First class ticket.
I'll splurge.
Splurge?
Yes.
Okay.
If it's a long distance flight.
Yeah. I used to be one of those people that was like, I would never, ever fly business because why? We're going to the same destination. Until I flew business for the first time. I was going to Qatar. It was a 16-hour flight.
It's a world of difference.
Dude.
You wouldn't even know where you got there.
It felt like I was in a hotel. And ever since then, I'm going to find every way to fly business without, of course, breaking the bank, right? So yeah, that one.
If it's a long distance
If it's a long distance flight, yeah. Okay. Designer shoes. Save. Except those sneakers that you bought with me. Okay. Designer watches, like luxury watch.
Save.
Luxury cars.
Splurge.
Splurge? Okay. What's your favorite, or what's your dream luxury car for when you feel like you've arrived?
I'm driving one now.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Front row seats to see your favorite musician.
Yes.
Splurge?
Yes.
So this or that. I'm just going to ask you one.
Of course.
Stocks or real estate?
Real estate any day.
Why?
I can touch it. I can feel it.
So do you invest in stocks at all?
I do. Okay. But most of my money goes into real estate.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you're more comfortable investing in something that's tangible, that you can actually...
Yes. What I can understand and follow and with guaranteed returns. Okay. Real estate is almost guaranteed. Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess final question for you then. If $10 million miraculously appeared in your bank account today, what are you going to do with it?
I would expand my law firm.
Wow.
Yep. Because it's the business that I know, like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
I could easily monetize that.
So you're not going to, you're going to throw the entire
no, not the entire thing. No.
Okay, yeah. Talk us through what you're going to do.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be an expansion for sure.
Yeah.
Luxury vehicles.
Okay.
Vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And my not-for-profit. I do have a lot of people that look up to me.
Okay.
For inspiration, for survival. I'm going to put some money in there to support them.
Okay. I like that. But you're definitely going to take care of yourself.
Of course. Absolutely.
That's nice. All right. That's all. So do you have any final words? Like I said, it looks like a lot of Albertans are really struggling. If you were to give maybe one piece of advice that has really helped you manage your funds or really stay on top of things financially, like what would that be? Or a word of advice or comfort?
Live within your means as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It reduces a lot of tension, a lot of stress. And you have to be intentional about what comes in and what goes out.
Nice. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Charles.
Thank you, Jen.
And thanks everyone for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. If you liked it, please share and subscribe. Share with a friend who might find this helpful and subscribe. And hopefully you can learn a thing or two from these conversations.
And thank you for having me on your platform, Jenny. You've always been the finance person right from day one. And I'm happy that you continue to share the information you have and give others platform to educate your audience. Yeah, thanks. And I should actually throw your flowers back at you because when I remember I was, a 25, 26-year-old trying to figure out what to do with. I didn't know what I was doing. I knew I had some cash and I'm like, okay, it's either I'll spend this money or I do something with it. And I remember I chatted with you about real estate and you obviously inspired me to buy my first property at 26 and it paid off. I think I'm better off now because I bought a property back in 2018. Because now obviously Calgary housing has exploded. Yes, absolutely. That was, really good. Yeah. Are you listening? I listened, yeah. But I see, this is why I'm actually doing this because I feel like I've been blessed to have, a lot of friends who have really good financial wisdom. My brother, yourself, and a few other people. And so I'm trying to bring that to the public so that they can also kind of learn a thing or two from that. So thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So that's it, folks. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please share with a friend and subscribe. And until next time, I'm your host, Jennifer Ikoroje.